Director Hayes,
Here.
Director Potts,
Here.
Director Beck,
Here.
Director Barnes,
Here.
Director Klein-Jerome,
Here.
Director Gosa,
Here.
Director Postjan,
Here.
all in attendance.
Thank you. All right, Director Barnes, would you please read the mission and vision statements?
Certainly. Mission statement. The Davenport Community School District is dedicated to growing excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics for every child by ensuring the highest quality education in an environment shaped by our diverse community, preparing our students to be lifelong learners and productive citizens. Vision statement. Education that challenges conventional thinking, prepares all students to compete in a global society, and inspires our students, parents, staff, and community to answer the question, what if?
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Postjan, would you please read our guiding principles?
Guiding principles. Opportunity. We provide abundant opportunities to empower students to reach their full potential academically, creatively, and socially. Collaboration. We foster an environment that allows students, families, and community stakeholders to come together for the betterment of our students' education and future. Transparency. We share relevant and important information with our students, families, and the community to maintain open and productive communication.
Thank you, Director Postjan. Superintendent Schneckloff, would you please read our goals?
Goal number 1, to enhance student learning, is the focus for tonight.
Thank you. There are no public hearings tonight. Student board reports. This is what you guys have been looking forward to. We can start on whichever end you want. Just before you give us your report, give us your name, your school, a little bit about yourself, and then so whoever wants to start first, or I can call on somebody. You can go.
Okay, do you want to? All right. My name is Jackson Martin. I'm from Davenport West High School, and so a few things going on with our school is we have homecoming the Saturday the 28th. Tomorrow is the homecoming parade, so hopefully you guys will be there. I'll be selling water. Our gym is coming along well because we're, I don't know if you know, but we're getting an entirely new gym, which is in, like, I don't know, the east side of our building. I'm not sure. And then nothing else. I have nothing else.
We're good.
I'm
Hey.
Ari.
And I'm Travis. We're from Mid-City.
First we're doing the hunger drive.
And then we're discussing a harvest festival for the PBIS school-wide reward
And then we're celebrating Hispanic
month and
so.
Cultural Diversity Club.
Hello, my name is Cameron Benson from Central High School. It is homecoming week at Central this week as well. We have Spirit Week going on all week, as well as the tailgate tomorrow, the homecoming parade on Thursday, and the big game versus North on Friday, as well as the dance on Saturday. And our Blue Devil football team came out victorious September 20th in the intercity rivalry against West High School. Also, our Marching Blue Devils were top 10 placer at the Band of America competition in Toledo, Ohio this past week.
Hello, my name is Benny Toko, and as Cameron Benson mentioned earlier, this week is Spirit Week, and in addition to all the fun stuff that we've had for our homecoming court, we've also had a lot of our clubs kick off, such as robotics. Sports are very much in season, like cross country, NHS. We're having a bake sale very, very soon, so be on the lookout for that. And that's what's been going on in our main schools.
My name is Mackenzie Gosa, Davenport North. As far as North, we have a semifinalist in the 2025 National Merit Scholarship Program. This program is students selected around the nation based on PSAT scores, and semifinalists have the highest scoring participants in each state, and that's really cool for us.
Also, at one of North's feeder schools. Oh, I'm Cohen Calla, by the way, going to North. One of our feeder schools, Fillmore, reached out to us and told us that they had a successful Alice fire drill on the 13th. They went to Adventure Church and everything went great, reportedly. For attendance, they gave out popcorn to people who came to school, provided by the PTO. Oh, and also bake sale. We also are doing bake sales at all the North football games. Joy Club is doing bake sales, all for $1. And also for National Honor Society in our school, we're doing bake sales now. So definitely go get that.
All right, thank you, student board members. We always appreciate your input at board meetings and let us know what's going on. And if everyone give them a round of applause, it's very hard to speak in front of all these people. Normally, we don't get this many people. They're usually watching on YouTube, so don't let that intimidate you. Guys did a great job. All right, we will move on to recognitions. Our first recognition is recognition of the Kiwanis Club. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
Thank you very much. And to add on to what you had previously said, in our orientation, this group of student board members was outstanding. They're very excited to join our team. I think they're going to add a lot this year, and it's going to be a wonderful year. And it's great to see every single one of them in attendance tonight, which we know that you are very busy human beings, and that might not be the case all year long, but it's really great to see you here and great to hear your voices again. At the table with us today, we have 4 members of Kiwanis. One of the things that we are really stressing is to get back into our community organizations that give back to us. This particular club for the last 5 years and longer, probably generations actually, but in most recent memory has really donated heavily to the Davenport Community School District. And we're incredibly proud of that. So we wanted to give them an opportunity to come and brag. And Mr. Driscoll and Mr. Posicani, they are members of this club as well. So we wanted to really highlight some of the things that they're doing. We're going to be inviting our other service clubs to come to this as well. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you. Thank you very much. School board, I'm excited to introduce both our president and president-elect, Lexi Reeling and Bob O'Brien. Our superintendent asked us sometime last year, hey, let's get more involved in our service organizations and whatnot. And we have had a long-standing relationship with Kiwanis. They've been we have been one of the main funders for Opportunity for All, which I think our board members are familiar with. And so Kevin and I were excited to join Kiwanis about a year and a half ago, and become members. And each meeting we stand up, and just like at a board meeting, we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we recite the Kiwanis motto. And I think just seeing it there, as our country's flag signifies purity, valor, and justice, may we exemplify these values as we serve the children of the world. And what a great connection to a school district. Brenda, if you don't mind scrolling to the second. Yeah, thank you. And to Superintendent Schneckloff's point, we got into our spreadsheet and just started looking at some of the expenses over the last 10 plus years, and it quickly got north of about $40,000 between 5 years of $5,000 each to Kiwanis, multiple years to United Champions, multiple years to attendance initiatives, almost annually to our post-prom parties and things like that. And so we put them up there without the dollar signs to just say, wow, look at the involvement that this wonderful organization has been a part of, and wanted to bring them down here and just kind of show you that. Let Kevin kind of chime in and see if you had any questions or anything for our president and president-elect.
One of the interesting things, I was in a Kiwanis club prior to coming to Davenport, and I will say for a Kiwanis club, the activity is tremendous from the Davenport club. Most recently was Unified Champions, and this club, it was just happening as Ben and I were becoming members. Being a partner in that was tremendous to see. It's exciting of the amount of things that are done. As Ben said, listing them up there, you forget all the things that you do. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but to support a lot of different avenues within the district is tremendous to be able to do and to be a member of this club.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us here tonight. And I just wanted to say that it really is a privilege to get to work with you as we serve the children of Davenport. Having you all's firsthand knowledge of what those needs are and what areas that we can expand our services to and how we can reach kids who need things that they otherwise might not have access to, such as Unified Champions, such as therapy dogs, such as everything that you all do through Opportunities for All. It's really special to us, and to be able to see that firsthand when we're volunteering at some of these activities is very special. So thank you for everything that you do and for letting us be part of it.
All right. Well, I was part of that Kiwanis Key Club that was at Central. I did graduate from Central, but that isn't the club I was in. I was its Kiwanis representative. The Key was the teacher that started and got that rolling. And I went to the first meeting, and there were like 30 kids in a classroom right down by the cafeteria. And there were kids sitting on the floor with all the volunteering that they were doing with this Kiwanis Key Club. And it later, like it says, grew to 130 in about 4 years. And the stuff they did was pretty amazing. I mean, they were raising about $5,000 a year doing that just themselves. So, and thank you. Appreciate it.
I think something worth talking about, and it made me think of it when Bob's talking about, I was part of that, is Kiwanis is far more than just, hey, we've got a little money, who needs it, and we want to make sure it's going to the right spot. President Gosa, I think about a few years back when you were a champion for Unified Champions. This group not only financially supported it, but also out at North Scott, volunteering at the Special Olympics. So it is hands and feet from Kiwanis, and I think that's important. Every meeting, it's, hey, who's going to be at? Who's going to be putting the flags out this week? Who's collecting the flags afterwards? Who's going to really serving the children of the world through a lot of, and our community through a lot of different ways. So I want to make sure I said that as well.
Any board members have anything? Director Potts.
Yeah, it's the contributions that organizations like Kiwanis make that help the school district accomplish a well-rounded program for students. You know, the district itself can't do everything it knows it needs to do, and it needs the help of the community, parents, teachers, service organizations, because you never know what fingerprint you've left on a kid because of what you have done or how you've treated them or what you've provided for them. And that's a great service from Kiwanis.
If you want to say, go ahead. I do. Unified Champions is phenomenal. I'm so glad we were able to do that. I've been on a kick for ever since I've been on the board for that. But I don't want to discount any of the other projects you all have helped out with, but to see Unified Champions come through was very, very awesome. And we got to attend some of those things, and just to get to see those kiddos' faces when they get to do that, it's a phenomenal thing, and it's very life-changing for those kids. So thank you all very, very much for that.
Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a little tradition we do. We like to take a picture with our guests, so if you wouldn't mind entertaining us and putting a picture, and then our communications person is going to make you Facebook famous. That's what she says. So probably 100,000 views, probably some ballpark there.
All right, we'll move on to our next recognition. It will be spring and summer athletic recognitions. I'll turn it over to Superintendent.
Absolutely. And tonight, the leader of our spring and summer athletic recognition is going to be Mr. Flynn. We had a very busy spring and summer. For those of you that got out to see some of our competitors, it was very exciting. And so here tonight to highlight it is Mr. Flynn. And for those of you that are here in attendance tonight, I want to thank you for coming. And thank you for being a part of this meeting. We do a lot, our board conducts a lot of business, but their favorite nights are these nights where they get to see our wonderful champions in this room and get to highlight our students and our wonderful coaches that are so dedicated to our program. So guardians that are in here tonight, thank you so much for being here, because we know what it takes to get these kiddos to this level of competition, and it's pretty impressive. Also, it's pretty fun to see some of my old coaches in the back there. Hi, Mr. Brody. How are you doing, sir? I remember doing many up downs for that man, and I would run through a wall for him. So,
and that makes two of us. So I just want to say first and foremost that Mr. Shevlin regrets that he could not be here this evening. He's home ill and is recovering right now. But the program that you're going to witness and get to meet some of our student athletes from tonight is really a labor of love from the coaches and the student athletes. And this is always a tricky one to get ready for. Obviously, spring sports ended back in May, June-ish. Summer sports ended in July. So trying to get people back is always difficult. I will say that we have one, I'll get to that in a minute. We have an Augustana student in our midst today that made the trip back across the bridge to be here tonight. But very thankful for the opportunity. And I would also like to take just a moment to thank the parents and guardians, because the success that these student athletes have had is in large portion to the support systems that they have in place. And thank you for keeping the meals warm and the cars ready to roll as your student athletes have been on the pitch or the track or the field. So we will start with girls soccer. And I did not, as people walked in, see any girls soccer players come in, but our first team performers, first team All-MAC performers this year were freshman forward Sloan Moeller and junior midfielder Dylan Moeller, both from Davenport Central. And our second team All-MAC performers were junior midfielder Kaylee Nucci of Davenport North and also senior defender Addison Miller. So congratulations to all those ladies on their accomplishments. As we turn the page to boys soccer, I know we have at least one honoree here today. So, Joey, come on up here. We're gonna speak about you a little bit. But before we get to the reigning MAC Player of the Year, I would like to commend all of the athletes that we have on the board right now. First team All Conference from Central. Joey was one of them. Eric Hayes, a junior defender, and Jackson Jays, a senior goalkeeper, all from Davenport Central, from Davenport North. Actually, I'm going to let Coach speak to the student athletes from Davenport North. And we had some second-team all-conference performers as well. From West, Saden Williams, a freshman forward, Jose Reyes Lugo, a senior forward, and Nam Nguyen, a senior defender. Coach, I'm going to have you come on up to speak to the North folks, but before we get to that, Joey was a junior forward, correct? Am I saying it right? Yes? Well, all I know is this. I looked at Bound before I came, and he scored 24 goals this past season. Also had 4 assists. Joey, that's 24 more goals than I ever scored in my entire soccer career. So congratulations on your performance last year and your accomplishments, and we can't wait to see what you have in store for us this year. So congratulations. Thank you. And at the mic now, we're going to bring up, he's behind me, Coach Dave Gamble, the North High School boys soccer coach, who was the coach of the year this year for the MAC conference. Coach Gamble led the team to a 7-2 conference record and an overall record of 10-6. So, Coach, if you would, go ahead and give us a few words about your student athletes.
I will. Thank you very much, by the way. We actually have one more up there also that was a honorable mention goalkeeper. But we have Javier Alvarado. He was a sophomore midfielder, first team all-conference, second team all-state. We had Shakur Alaf, who was a senior midfielder, first team all conference. And then the twins, Max Stahula and Sam Stahula, were our senior defenders. They were also first team all conference. We did have a goalie who first year ever playing goalie was honorable mention for all conference. And so that was really cool for him to come out and try something new and new position, and actually really did excel at it. A couple of things about our program. We did finish third in the MAC. It's the highest finish that we've ever had at Davenport North. We lost to the first place team, which was Bettendorf. We lost to them in overtime by 1 goal, and then we lost to PV by 1 goal also. It was an extremely successful season. We grew a lot, and one of the things that we saw come out of our season this year was we have a tournament every year at North, and it's in honor of my daughter. And this next year, we will have 14 teams from across the state come to North, see their new field, see the beautiful additions that we're getting here in Davenport, to a point where there are teams, there's 6 of the 8 teams that made it to state called me up and asked me, can we get in your tournament? They know about Davenport. They know about what we're here for. And it's smack dab in the middle of the year. And this one counts because the next day is when all the districts come out. So it's an important tournament. We raised money for Dance Marathon up in Iowa City in my daughter's name. And it has turned into where it used to have just 3 teams. It was Central, us, and maybe Muscatine. And now it's grown into 14 teams across the state are coming in, spending the night, wanting games on Friday night and Saturday night. And now that we have lights and a beautiful turf, we can run everything at our place. We don't need help from anybody else. It's all right here in Davenport. So I thank you all, a lot of your support, especially with the new facility coming. So that would be really, really nice for us. All right? Thank you.
All right, if we could, Brenda, go to the next slide. Just some honorees from the Central Boys Track Team. And are there any gentlemen from this? Okay. We had some first team all conference performers. Junior Brandon Lomax was a first team shot put thrower, and the distance medley relay consisting of Waleed Bachko, Alex Ingram, Maddox Sullivan, and DJ Melbrook were also first team. Second team all conference performers, Tyler Ryan in the 3200, Brandon Hicks in the 110 hurdles, KJ Wright in the 110 hurdles, and Maddox Sullivan in the 800. And then we had state qualifiers, the boys shuttle hurdle relay team, Brandon Hicks, KJ Wright, Logan Cruz, and Benny Jacobsmeyer. And the 4x8, Maddox Sullivan, DJ Melbrook, Tyler Ryan, Pete Linehan, and the 110 hurdles, Brandon Hicks. So congratulations to all of those gentlemen. On the next slide, we have the Davenport North Wildcat Boys Track performers. Any Wildcats? Okay. First team performers, the high jump was Jaden Stuckel. 4x2 relay, the sprint medley, and the 4x1 consisting of Xavier Vesey, Mason Bogan, Connell Burridge, and Robert Taylor. And then we had a second team all conference 100-meter runner, Robert Taylor. State qualifiers were the sprint medley, who I mentioned earlier. 200-meter runners, Robert Taylor and Xavier Vesey. And then there were alternates, Dominic Bailey, Israel Bailey, Kai Houston, Nathan Jack, James Lang, Chris Moss, Naziah Robinson, Wyatt, Jaden Stuckel, Joe Tensley, and Grant Weiss. Congratulations to all those gentlemen. And that brings us to the Davenport West Falcon Boys Track nominees, honorees. Nolan, come on up here. Standing in front of you right now is Nolan Dempsey. Nolan was a junior, is now a senior. Took second place in the discus throw this past year. And your goal next year, Nolan, is first place, and the distance is 200 feet is what he is after. And I tell you what, I told him as he walked in, I've seen him kind of on camera. He's a good-sized lad. I'm looking forward to this season. So, Nolan, congratulations on all you accomplished last year. And, again, we look forward to seeing what you can do this year as well. So, congrats. Along with Nolan, first team all conference athletes were Idris Thomas, who's a senior high jumper, Marvin Neely, who is a junior long jumper, second team all conference, Will Evans, shot putter, Nolan Dempsey, and then 400-meter runner Idris Thomas. And we had state qualifiers, Nolan, Will Evans, and Idris Thomas. And it is very, very important for us to recognize as well that Idris is the reigning state champion in the high jump. So congratulations to Idris and to Coach Brody for the accomplishments this past year. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, we are on to girls track, and we have some girls track athletes here today. So if you would, join me up here, ladies. You'll see that second team all conference. I'm going to wait for you, Rachel. From Davenport North, we had Natalie Lord on the 400-meter hurdles. We had Kennedy Smith, who's a freshman in the shot put. We had Rachel Ehlers, a junior discus thrower, back for more this year, right? All right. Love it. We had state qualifiers, Greta Bruce in the shot put. And from Central, we had Dylan Moeller in the 1500. And then we had a slew of young ladies in the shuttle hurdle relay. We had Kalia Knox. Kalia? And Kalia is traveling to us from Rock Island. She is the Augie student. Came back tonight, pre-bio.
Biochemistry on the pre-vet track.
That was what I meant to say. That's what she's studying. So she wants to be a veterinarian. I just can't. You are the first person that's come back, and I'm just so excited that you're here tonight. So thank you so much. Ellie Linehan was a sophomore on that shuttle hurdle relay as well. Claire Amelia and Nazeda Block. So that was that team. And then in the 4x8, we had Sloan Moeller, Dylan Moeller, Cameron Schumpert. Did I say it right? Schumpert. I'm sorry, Cameron. Cameron's here. And then Hannah Ford, who is a senior. So congratulations to all these ladies on their accomplishments this year as well. Thank you all. This next slide shows two place winners from the state meet. The first is Taviana Thomas Everett. Taviana was the state runner-up in the para 100 and the para 200. And if you have not had a chance, there's a link on this slideshow where the WQAD is. That was a story that they did on Taviana, and just really a great story. But Taviana did an excellent job representing Davenport Central at state and Davenport in general. And then on the right-hand side of the slide is Greta Bruce. Greta took third place in the shot put at last year's state meet as well. So congratulations to the two of them. In softball this past season, from Davenport North, we had Allison Boynton. She was a first-team player, a senior utility player. From Central, Bianca Shorter, who was a senior third base person. And then second-team all-conference from North, we had Kaylin Shorter, who was a junior outfielder. From West, Reagan Ware, a junior catcher, and also from West, a senior utility player, Aubrey Graydon. So congratulations to those young ladies as well. And that brings us to baseball. I would ask baseball folks, if you're here, come on up. Thank you. And before Coach gets up here, I'm going to go through the players that were not his players this past year. In baseball, we had first team all-conference athlete from West, Wyatt Haas, who's a senior outfielder. Second team all-conference from Central, Ty Harmson, a senior outfielder, and also Maddox Sullivan, a senior utility player. And then we had a number of all-district selections as well. Central, Maddox Sullivan, Ty Harmson, and Ben Cox. And then from West, we had Wyatt Haas. Going to bring Coach Carsons is behind me. Coach Carsons is also the reigning MAC baseball coach of the year. He led the Wildcats to a 14-4 record this past year in the conference and a 29-13 overall record. Really had them playing well all year long. And Coach, if you would, I'd like you to speak to your season and your student athletes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for having me today. I'll start with our first team all conference sophomore Brandon B. He's there for a pitcher, but he also was our leadoff hitter and played center field when he wasn't pitching. Clayton Bolkema was a senior who played first base. He was also on the super team, which is all of the classes combined. Second team all conference, we had Maddox Chapman, who was a senior. Here with me, Caden Weaver. It says he played second base, but he played second base, shortstop, and he pitched for us, so he kind of did it all. Grant Weiss was a senior. He was an outfielder. Over to the all-district selections, Brandon B. and Clayton Bolkema were both first-team all-district selections. Maddox Chapman was second-team pitcher. Grant Weiss was second-team outfield. Bryce Pauley, second-team shortstop. Cameron Goff, second-team catcher. And Caden Weaver, again, was second-team utility because, like I said, pitcher and middle infielder for us. We went 29-13. It was a really enjoyable summer. I'm spending a lot of the time with these guys on a lot of hot summer days. They put a lot of hard work and effort in the entire off season, the entire summer, and it really showed once the season started. The biggest thing that I was super proud of for all these guys is there were 6 records that Davenport North had going all the way back to 1992 that this class was able to take over. In 1998, there was 278 runs scored. This year, we scored 326 to overtake that. In 1998, they had 376 hits. This group of guys put together 401 hits. In 1992, the record was 68 doubles. These guys put together 76 doubles. In 1998, again, 232 RBIs was the record, and these guys put 278 RBIs together. In 2011, they were walked 165 times, and we got walked 198. And then to think that we could only do it at the plate was not the issue, because in 2004, that is the only other time North has won a conference championship. They struck out 237 guys on the mound, and our pitchers struck out 241 this year. So it's just so much to be proud of for all of these young men. They put themselves down in the record book, first conference win in 20 years. And like I said, they took over the North record scorebook. And the second most wins in school history. 2004 had 31, and we had 29. We return a really strong group, including Caden himself. And we're really excited to watch what they can do again next year and hopefully repeat with the same success that we had. Thank you.
And Coach promised me they wouldn't wait another 20 years for the next one, so we got that going for us. Just some more graphics here. One more announcement. There will be 2 inductees into the Ring of Honor, and there will be more information coming from Mr. Shovelin about this. One is Coach Paul Flynn from Davenport West, and the other is Coach Bill Churchill from Davenport Central. So congratulations to both of them for being both nominated and voted into the Ring of Honor. I would just like to say in closing that on behalf of Mr. Shovelin, our coaches and our athletes, thank you to the board for your continued support of what our athletic programs are doing. We have seen great improvements to our facilities. We're seeing those come to fruition now. We've seen great improvements in our weight rooms. And quite frankly, our coaches are doing all the right things. They're in this game for the right reasons. They're here to make our student athletes better people and better students. And this is kind of the icing on the cake. We get to see the young people who are taking that coaching, soaking it in, and doing the things that they need to do to be ultra successful. But I want to thank our coaches for everything that they do. And again, we're moving in the right direction. Your commitment to our student athletes and our district is to be commended. So thank you very much. Student athletes and coaches, if you could come forward, please. We're going to get a picture with you and the board.
All right, we will move on. There are no presentations tonight, so we will move on to board reports. Are there any board reports? Nobody's got nothing? All right. I do have one, and this is a big one for me, and everybody knows this. I preach about this every year. And I got this awesome sign behind me to make sure that folks realize we have kids in school and they need to drive the speed limit. Every morning I drive my kiddos to school and I see people speeding all the time. One of these days someone's going to hit a kid and it's going to be a terrible thing. It doesn't take that much more effort to leave a little bit earlier. I want to thank the city of Davenport for making sure I have this. And while we have board meetings, they'll be right behind me, so it'll be a reminder for folks because I think the camera zooms in on this seat all the time. But again, I go down to the city council meetings and talk about this. Folks, please remember that our kids are out there, and a lot of elementary kids don't think, and they just run out there. So we have to drive 25 in school zones. It's a life or death choice sometimes, and things can happen in a split instant. So again, remember during school from 7 to 5, and even after, sometimes we have kids doing after school things, you have to drive the speed limit in the school zones. And I've seen on a lot of the signs now that they do have cameras going, so I hope you get a ticket. If you do speed, sorry for your luck, but again, if it takes you to get 10 speeding tickets to beat it in your head that you shouldn't speed in a school zone, then that's what it takes. And I feel sorry for those folks. But my last pitch, remember to drive the speed limit in school zones. Thank you. And I mean, that thing's pretty big. I don't know how you can miss it.
When you're going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah. All right, if there are no other board reports, I will move on to communications. Open forum, do we have any? Perfect, I don't have to read that tonight. All right, Brenda shook her head, no, we have no online open forums. So we will move on to the consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Mr. President,
Director Hayes.
I move the board accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you, is there a
Second.
Thank you, motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We'll move on to the superintendent report.
I have one thing to report. It's an incredibly important thing that's coming up in the near future, and that's the vote. We have a very important election, and we have a population of students that need to get registered. So all four of our high schools are gearing up for their voter registration drives. All the high schools reached out to the state to participate in the Carrie Chapman CAT Award program through the Iowa Secretary of State, which the highest participation rate will win this award, and we're really gunning for that this year inside of our schools. Mid-City has already done their drive on September 20th during their senior advisory, and West will be holding their class meeting on September 23rd, and then we'll do a follow-up on October 7th. North and Central are doing their registration during senior advisory on October 7th. And all buildings will be doing periodic follow-up announcements through the month of October and November leading up to Election Day. So student board members, anything that you can do to take this into your buildings and your environments to make sure that anybody that is eligible to vote, to register, does so, and then goes out and has their voice be heard. This is one of the most important things that we do as citizens, and that's to vote our elected officials in. And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. All right, we will move on to committee reports. Breaking Barriers Committee.
None at this time.
Okay. LZAC.
We meet in October.
Okay. Long Range Facilities Planning.
We met last week and we had a presentation and review of some of the semifinal plans for the North High School renovation. It looks like we've taken phase 1 and phase 2 and sort of combined them and come up with a price that is less than phase 1 plus phase 2 would have been. And this also then will allow us to incorporate the pool and the facilities on the east side of the auditorium with a direct line into the building for access, immediate access once that's done. In the future, there will be a presentation, of course, for the board. You can see the details of it. One thing I want to remind board members of is we've appropriated money for these projects, but the money we've appropriated for the projects is for the physical construction of those projects, the piping, the mortar, the bricks, the electrical. We will be getting bids or requests to pay out for other things related to these projects, like furniture, like electronics, like maybe a PA system, the actual boxes and stuff. So I guess to be forewarned is to be, that this is coming, and it's not like, wait a second, we spent $62 million on Sudlow and now we got to do, yes, and the money's there. Okay, it's not like we're going to be selling donuts on the street corner. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. Legislative advocacy, we'll be meeting to come up with, okay. We'll be meeting in a couple weeks to put together our breakfast and lunch for our legislators. Policy committee,
Nothing at this time.
okay. Finance committee,
We met last week, and Kevin will be making the June financial report.
Kevin, if you would, please.
Okay, so this is 10.02 of the agenda. We'll start with the monthly fund report. It's been a while since we had these, but we finally got our books closed and our annual report certified. I have two staff members that work their tail off for that, and just so you know, Lisa Cruz and Carrie Weinbrandt do a fabulous job in getting everything ready, going through all the edits and all the hoops that the Department of Ed requires us to do to get that certified. It's important to know that there's a team of people that do some incredible work. So this is straight from our certified annual report. There is the one asterisk I would put on there. There could be edits that the Department of Ed does to it, but we'll change it slightly at best. But I want you to be aware the numbers may change just in the slightest amount. So with this ending June report, I'll start with the revenues on the general fund. You'll notice our federal revenues increased $13.8 million. Of that, $12.2 million is in ESSER and $900,000 is in Title I. An important thing to note going forward, whatever remaining ESSER funds that we have yet to expend through the end of this month will be it for ESSER funds. For ESSER 3 funds, I'm going to say. There's other miscellaneous things that go on that we'll talk about other meetings, but we're in our fifth quarter, if you will, to finally expend those for like the West HVAC project, some of those run out claims, if you will. So next year is going to look a lot more like a FY20 year as opposed to a 23 or 24. You'll notice on our expenditure side, our federal revenues increased, our salaries and expenditures increased by $6.6 million. If you remember, we did a payment to staff for a stay bonus with ESSER funds. It's a direct impact of our ESSER funds. The same was true with our salaries and materials. It rose by $4.6 million. The vast majority of that is due to all of that curriculum adoption that you've been approving all throughout this last year. It's incredible work that was done there. Our other objects, I only note that our other objects are approximately $7 million for AEA flow-through dollars, and $12.6 million of that, of the rest of that is transfers for ESSER funds. If you remember, when we did the West HVAC project, all the expenditures come out of the PEPL fund. The revenue by the state has to go into our general fund, and then we did a fund transfer before the end of June. This is that fund transfer into other funds, and you're going to see a correlation to that when I go across the screen. And the other thing to note is I don't know what's going to happen next year with flow-through dollars with the way they change it from a 60-40 standpoint. Stay tuned for that. Next year will be interesting. So that's between the ESSER fund transfers and how they change the AEA flow through. That other objects is going to look anything but consistent. The other thing I'll make a note of on the save funds, the last column on the right, our other revenue was $8.2 million. That is a correlation to the other objects on the expenditure side. That was the fund transfers for ESSER funds. So you see a correlation between other revenue and other expenditures. That's where that's at. And then you'll also see down below, I didn't highlight it, but you'll see our other objects on the save funds. That is a transfer into debt service for the debt that we have from when we sold bonds. We had to move the payments for FY25 into debt service, so we have the cash available to make the payments for our first payment of principal and interest. So there's a correlation all across the board there. If you scroll to the next page, I'll make note of PEPL fund. If you remember, I said we're going to talk a lot more about Save and PEPL. Well, here you go. It's starting to happen. You'll notice in our other revenue, that's that transfer from the Save funds from the page above. Excuse me, that wasn't that. That was other revenue. It's from general fund to ESSER. That was part of that. Because there's some activity that we have going on in the PEPL fund that are ESSER funded. In the other funds, in the expenditures, excuse me, this begins our new capital projects fund for the $82 million. For the other fund 30, you see where we collected those dollars. You're starting to see the expenditures happen for all of our projects, mainly our turf fields projects. We're getting some for all of them starting. So now you see the start of it. You'll see that other fund start to dwindle down to zero. We'll also see probably October of next year another influx of dollars for our second half of our bond sale. So you're gonna see that fund balance start to go down. When that gets close to zero, we'll be selling bonds, and you'll have that go back up to another 80 million or so. In our debt service, I know I mentioned this, but on our debt service fund, you see we have $6.2 million ending fund balance and the transfer in. I mentioned about the transfer in. That $6.2 million, when we sold bonds, our promise to the bondholders is we would have the money in our debt service by the end of the year for the next year's payments. So that $6 million is sitting there ready to make our payments in, I think, December and June for that $80 million loan. I'm going to stop there and ask if there's any questions on our monthly report. You can kind of see how things have flowed, and there's a lot of activity in there that you see towards the end of the year. If not, I'll move on to the key measures report. On this key measures report, thank you for adjusting that, Brenda. You'll see where we ended the year that our UAB did go up. It's slowing. You've noticed it's been rising very fast, going to 15.3%. Even though it says FY24 projected, that's pretty well locked in. There'll be fractions of a percent change when we get to it. But the important thing to note on the general fund annual unspent authorized budget, I didn't highlight it, but we spent 95% of our authorized budget. If you notice the prior years, it was in the low 90s. We're getting closer to even spending, so we stay approximately at that 15%. So we're right in the spot that we need to be in. Our solvency, on the other hand, still been climbing. And if you remember, for FY25, we don't have any cash reserve. That's how our solvency is going to come back down below 20%. 20% is the max we're supposed to have. So we're doing well there. This will self-correct itself in FY25 and in FY26, since this one hit 23%. So we won't be doing any cash reserve when we adopt our budget in the spring for next year as well. Any questions on that?
Director Klein.
I just want the board to look at that FY19 column because in the next round that will go away. And we never want to be in that position again where our UAB is, where our, any of that. So I'm almost sorry that that column goes away because it's like we've always got to remember where we have been and where we have put ourselves now in a much better position than 5 years ago. Thanks to Kevin and the board and their decisions and TJ.
You, the board, had a lot to do with that. I will say one of the things I want to be able to do going forward, and I've asked Frontline to be able to peel this stuff away, is to have an ESSER impact so we can kind of show if we didn't have ESSER, this is what the revenues and expenses would look like, because there's such a bubble of expenditures and revenue from the ESSER impact. $70 million spread over 3 years is a lot of money. And it's hard for us to gain traction and going, what amount of spend should we have? What amount of revenue should we have? So I'm hoping that I'm asking them to do some extra reporting. So maybe we have something that we have a look back when we do look back that is more of an equal impact, apples to apples, if you will.
If you got a question, grab a microphone and just make sure.
So on the last slide with the
Make sure your microphone's on though, because otherwise the people,
hello.
There you go.
I saw that under supplies and materials, there was a significant increase in the last 3 years, if I'm correct. And I will say that I don't know exactly if that's because of of course changes or technology, but I will say that this year North, and I don't know if other schools did this, but implemented a new tablet systems like in each classroom, and that our teachers are really happy about that. Even though it's a change, it's making their lives way better. And I just wanted to say that I noticed that was a pretty big increase, and appreciate it.
All right. Any other student board members have questions? School finance is super complicated. If you got anything, the guru's right there.
I guess I have one question. What is was it the ESSER fund you said? What is that? What is that?
ESSER was I'm going to call it bailout money when COVID hit and the economy started to tank. The federal government gave money to states that trickled down to public schools to spend. And so there were a lot of different on-roads on how we can spend ESSER funds to a lot of its air quality. What else can you do to prepare for if we have another something that prevents us from coming to school? So the year or so that you weren't in school, how can you do remote learning? How can you be ready for another COVID? So it's a lot of those. Curriculum, getting people caught up on learning loss. There's probably 25, 30 different areas that you could spend those dollars on. Davenport got $70 million. It was the second largest allotment in the state of Iowa, second only to Des Moines Independent School.
All right. Any other questions? Does that conclude your report, Kevin? All right. Thank you. All right. We will move on to items requiring action. Before I ask for a motion on the first one, just for reference, Director Potts has been our delegate in the past, and then I will be up there Wednesday too, because I'm on the Legislative Rules Committee for the ISB, so I can do the alternate if you need to put names in here when you make the motion. So with that, I would ask for a motion on subject 11.01. Director Klein-Jerome.
I move that Director Potts serve as the board's delegate during the Iowa Association of School Boards Delegate Assembly and Annual Meeting on November 20th, 2024, and that Director Gosa will serve as the alternate in case of emergency or illness.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.02 fascia panels and coping at Jackson award of bid?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move the board award the fascia panels and coping at Jackson Elementary School to the lowest responsive bidder, Economy Architectural Sheet Metal LLC, in the amount of $265,200.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right. I just have one question. And I know we already did the discussion on this stuff. My question is there something going forward that we can start putting in these? Because I've drove around to a lot of the projects that we have going on. There's equipment setting, there's not people working, and or we get change orders and things like that. Is there something we can start putting in place on these to where we hold an architect accountable if they miss something, that they need to pick up some of that cost with us, whether we hold some money to the side to help allocate to pay for that, and maybe it's a board request I need to do, but we're going to be gearing up to do a whole bunch of stuff and spend a lot of money, and we need to start holding these people accountable for this stuff. So I don't know if there's really a question in that, but I
can't answer that right now, but I can check with legal counsel on it.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.03, purchase of 3 cargo vans?
Mr. President,
Director Beck.
I move that the board approve the purchase of 3 new cargo vans using PEPAL funds in the amount of $156,060 from Lindquist Ford.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Director Beck.
Never mind, I answered my own question. Sorry.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Real quick, student board members, the reason we're not having discussion on this is the way you'll notice we do our discussion at a previous meeting, and then that way we can vote on these things. Like you'll see in a minute, we'll have a discussion item, and then we'll take action at a future board meeting, so you all know. All right, seeing no other discussion, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. May I have a motion on subject 11.04, policies for board approval?
Mr. President,
Director Klein Jerome.
I move the board approve the following policies: 406.04, 604.01, 604.05, and 604.10.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. We will move on to discussion items. The one discussion item we have tonight is subject 12.01 to 2024-25 board and superintendent goals. I'll turn it over to superintendent.
Thank you, President Goza. One of our previous meetings, we did some updating to our goals. I'm passing around the updated goal sheet. After some of the feedback that we got from the board on how to move forward, I went out and looked at our district-wide growing excellence plan and did our best to make the connection between the direction the board wants to hold tight to in these 4 goals, and found the exact adult action and monitored and matched it to that key indicator. The other thing is I channeled my inner director Paustian to where if we could, is there anything in our goals that we thought we could eliminate? And we thought that the elimination of the short-term goals and just keeping the key indicators made more sense. And I ran that past Brenda to see if she thought that would be a decent idea. So that was our first blush at our goals today. So what you see here today is the 4 goals stayed the same. We did a slight adjustment to the goal number 4 of finances, because some members thought we might be able to eliminate that goal, and then some members thought, no, let's keep it. We have some big things going on. So I tried to make some connections to the things that are coming up for us in the future of our long-term goals. And so this is the first draft of our goals, which would be approved at one of our upcoming meetings. So I take any feedback now. I'll take feverish notes.
Director Beck.
Yeah, just a quick question. So when I'm thinking in terms of, as an educator, I'm thinking in terms of like measurable learning objectives, right? And measurable goals. So when you say systematize the SIT teams, what exactly would that look like when you use the term systematize or
So-
implement?
That's a great question. And that depends on what level you're at, depending on from kindergarten to you're looking at senior data, correct? But a student intervention team, now, in terms of a goal, every single one of these adult actions are relayed to a goal inside of our growing excellence plan. So there is a percent, a SMART goal as you were referencing in here. So that's why these are the key indicators that are attached to a goal that usually is presented up here. Thought that made best sense for us to all be rowing in the same direction as the people inside of our buildings. A student intervention team is a group of human beings that have a data set that make the best decisions on students that are not or are proficient. And they work the different interventions that they have inside of their buildings, and then they come back and regularly check on that. And so building a system for that is incredibly important, and one of the main actions that so if you were to dig down into our growing excellence plan, the systemizing of check in, check out all throughout our district to ensure that a human being is checking in and checking out with a student all across our district. And what that looks like for a kindergartner and a junior are different. And so that's one example of that. In terms of disproportionality, the greatest thing that you can do system-wide is work on your core. And then the second thing is, what do we do if they are or aren't getting it? And then what types of interventions and extensions do we have? And having that from preschool all the way through graduation is one of our biggest goals for this year. And we have very specific actions inside of our growing excellence plans that meet that. But when I see these, when we review them every Monday in cabinet, or they're there every Monday in cabinet on our agenda, it's a constant reminder to us that what are the adult actions that lead into that. And so hopefully that answers your question.
Director Poston.
Just a couple things. On the previous goals, we left out, we had recruiting and onboarding. And again, we're in a much better spot than we were a couple years ago. But I just wonder if maybe that should also be included. And then I also like the idea under 4 where you establish a calendar and cadence for phase 2 of the long-range facility plan. I think that's going to be critical after a while, because this is going to be a lot of money that we're going to be spending on these projects.
Director Barnes.
I'd like to echo Director Poston's comment on the cadence for budget and contracts, and in particular related to all of the curriculum investment that we've made time and time again over the course of the last year. We've heard how out of date, how old, and so I think having an understanding of when reinvestment needs to be made and what sort of a sequence would be helpful, not only for a budgeting standpoint, but also just to give a little bit more comfort to those who are delivering the curriculum too.
Director Beck.
I would actually like to echo Director Poston's comment about the recruitment and onboarding and retention. I do agree that that's one that we still need to do a lot of work on. So I'd argue for keeping that.
Director Potts.
One thing, I wonder if that is that really an appropriate board goal, or should that be a superintendent's goal? Because we're not going to do that. We're going to have somebody else do that. So I just throw that out there. The other thing is I understand the need for these interventions and bullying and harassment and all that. But sometimes it appears to me that we're not addressing the needs of kids who are achievers, who are the shakers and the movers, who are the kids that, we have to have a viable tag program. We have to have accelerated courses and classes in our junior highs so that kids can then, when they get to high school, get to the top courses in those other subjects. And we don't ever seem to articulate that as one of our goals when there are kids that can and do, and there are kids that can't or won't. And I sometimes think rightly so, we worry so much about the can't or won't, and we just assume that those who can and will figure it out on their own. Smart kids are smart kids. They'll just take care of everything. They don't need a whole lot, but they do. And they're the ones that are going to be the rocket science. And I don't know how I'm not offering any concrete bullet points here, but it's an uncomfortable feeling. It's that we're not articulating what we're going to do for the vast majority of our students who achieve.
Do you guys? All right, go ahead, guys. Yep, go ahead.
Well, I think I want to agree with that. I know, I don't know how much weight my voice will carry, but I've noticed that sometimes it just seems like we're bringing those who can't or won't up, but when the people who can, they're not forced to go any higher. They don't really have, yes, there are advanced classes, but I don't know. I just feel like there's more that could be done for them, and I'm not sure what that would look like, what that would be, but I don't know. I feel like they're just not being accelerated, because some people can understand things way faster than others, and sometimes that's in subjects that, like some people are good with cars, some people are good at books. It just depends. And I think like at West we have a really good auto mechanics, which is cool because some of these kids who aren't good at Spanish or learning history, but you see them working on cars, it's like it's a language in and of itself. And it's just, I guess I would want to see, moving forward, more people, or not more people, but more opportunities, or more, not enforcement, but helping kids who understand be dedicated and motivated to, go farther when they can. Because sometimes when you're not looking at them, they can just slip through the cracks. They're taking the hard classes, but they aren't, really being pushed to their limits. And so, yeah, I guess that's what I have to say.
I also want to piggyback on him. And I know, especially in middle school, it's like there's like nothing. There's almost nothing really. And there's no like advisor for you. There's no like plan to like push you forward if you can. And I wish I was given that. And I think there should be some type of like, I don't know, like counselor or something for it. I don't know. But like some type of plan for accelerated students, especially in the middle school and elementary school range.
Thank you, Jackson and Cohen. Out of the mouth of babes. Any other board members
He's
got
always
anything?
been the kid whisperer.
Do any other board members have any other questions or want to see any changes to this before it comes to the board? On Director Back?
Actually, that was what I was going to ask, is sort of what happens now with this.
Superintendent Schneckloff.
I think it would be an excellent idea because we have all of those adult actions that are related to extending and improving those areas. We can definitely find some goals that put that on there. And when as adults, when we see MTSS, that means that. But to articulate what does it mean to improve the outcomes for our students in the whole structure, we definitely can put those in a couple of these. So I will work, have something by the middle of the week emailed, and then that way if there's individual feedback that you'd like to give, and then we can put it back on for action, make any tweaks, or discuss it again, whatever you choose.
So a quick poll from the board, would you rather have another discussion or have them make the tweaks, send it to us, and then do action? Don't everybody, Director Beck, I'll start with you and then we'll just work around the horn here.
I think having like an emailed draft and then some that we can send feedback to through our appropriate channels to Brenda, and then a vote is a good idea.
Okay.
I don't want to drag it out because we need these to
Okay.
guide the district.
Thank you. Director Poston? Good. Good, good. All right. You can make that happen? All right. All right, no other discussion on that, I'm assuming, so we will move on to administrative reports.
None at this time.
Board requests, is there any board requests? All right, we got one. Name of board member, Director Gosa. Date of request, 9/23/2024. Item requested is a request for information. Description of request. To check with attorneys to see if we can put things in place to ensure quality, timely projects with responsible bidders that can actually handle the workload. Why are you making this request? We have the upcoming work projected, we need to ensure we are getting a timely quality project with little to no extreme change orders. When would you like this request? As soon as possible. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All right, no other board requests, board reflections. We will start with Director Beck.
As always, I really enjoy seeing students and student athletes recognized for their achievements. And I just wanted to highlight the tournament that Mr. Gamble talked about is just a really beautiful tribute to his daughter, who worked a lot with Dance Marathon out of Iowa City when she was a student and was unable to fulfill that mission. And it's just a wonderful way to honor her memory. And so also congratulations to him for his Coach of the Year award. So that really stuck out to me.
Thank you, Director Beck. Director Poston.
Yeah, just a follow-up to Director Beck. Congratulations to all our athletes and coaches. And with the new facilities that are going to be taking place here, I'm hoping that we have a lot more participation from our students, and heaven knows the facilities will be there. I also want to compliment our student board members. Thank you for agreeing to serve, and looking forward to your comments throughout all our meetings.
Thank you, Director Poston. Director Hayes.
I always enjoy the presentations, and I also appreciate the fact that Director Klein Jerome pointed out to us the 2019 numbers, that we can see where we were as opposed to where we are now. It kind of puts things in proper perspectives of not knowing what we didn't know at the time, and the assistance that we received from the different ones that helped us, and now all the numbers have kind of fell in place, and I appreciate Kevin's hard work at it as well as the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Director Hayes. Director Barnes.
Well, with the exception of the comment records going back all the way to 1992, which made me feel really old. This is a great meeting. I mean, welcome student board members. They're awesome. Love your reports and love learning what's happening in your schools. I thought the athletic recognition was excellent tonight. I love the emphasis on facilities and the facilities being something that is going to attract. And I share Director Postion's hope that we'll have more students participating. But I thought that the real highlight for me was just, again, the showcase of the many opportunities available to students in the Davenport School District that lead to pathways of high achievement. The student athletes who are recognized tonight were excellent. More importantly, the coaches and the way that they talk about the experience of the student athletes was incredibly impressive. And last thing I'll say is it was another incredible showcase of the incredible diversity that we have in this school district, and that's worth uplifting, and I'm glad we did it tonight.
Thank you, Director Barnes. Director Potts.
Yeah, I was impressed by Gamble's comments about that soccer tournament and its growth and the attraction that our facilities are going to be getting from around the state. I think that project, that whole idea started way back when we decided to do an eight row track at Brady Street so we could host state meets. Your dad was involved in that one. That was our facilities are going to provide tremendous opportunities for our students, athletes, non-athletes, everyone. And I would also say that student board member Gosa obviously gets her good looks from her mother.
Woo! Thank you, Director Potts. Director Klein Jerome.
First of all, I always like it when we recognize students and their accomplishments and what they've done, whether it be athletics, fine arts, all of it. I really look forward to that. I also, though, want to recognize Director Potts and the two student board members who spoke up, because you're right. We focus on the kids who are struggling, as we should, and we sometimes forget that middle ground of students, and we need to spend more time focusing on them. What is it that we can do to get you up the ladder a little bit more? And I think that's been overlooked many times. So I appreciate your comments and Director Potts's.
Thank you, Vice President Klein Jerome. Student board members, now you saw how we do it, so we'll start all the way on the end with Ariana and some takeaways you had from the meeting tonight. It has to be something that was on the agenda that we actually talked about tonight, though, just so you don't get us in trouble.
Yeah, I agree with them. I think it's important to focus on those who are doing better and like building them up. And I think that'll encourage those who are maybe falling behind to try and be that as an example. So, yeah.
Thank you, Travis.
I really enjoyed the talk about the budgets and the costs, because I feel like that's really important with recently. I just feel like with the budgets some of our schools have, it doesn't seem as fitting as it needs to be with some of the classes, like PE specifically. But yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation.
Thank you, Jackson.
And obviously, I agree with the whole, helping kids accelerate. But also, I agree with your comment about accountability for construction workers. Because I've seen a lot of times with work sites, there's 10 guys sitting there and only one's working. That might be over-exaggerating, but it's just the fact that I feel like either there's too many people there or they just don't, they're not being efficient with their time. And, that's frustrating because at the end of the day, tax money or whatever, if it's for the school, tax money, pays for it, right? I'm not just blowing hot air, but yeah, that and just I guess I'm also thankful that you guys allow us to be here. So,
future project manager.
I'm also happy that he spoke about that because I've been thinking about that for literally years. So that was nice that you brought that up. And the budget, it's definitely, I like that you guys are spending more money on the school, obviously for supplies and stuff. So yeah, sounds great.
Not to beat a dead horse, but leading on to what Mr. Potts said about how the kids, quote unquote, doing better don't get as much attention, and highlighting the kids who got to come up and be recognized. We've seen that opportunity, obviously you want to keep pushing yourself to be higher, and I think we need more of that in other, but it was nice to see that highlighted.
Sure.
I don't, but I don't want you to think, Mr. Schneckloth, that we're like dogging you because you still are doing good. Like because I don't want you to feel like it's like beating on you because with the kids who are falling behind, I think there's been good efforts to help them. So I think you're doing well there. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
But we're gonna dog.
Way to get that disclaimer in there before you leave tonight. Good for you. Because now I got to let him talk. All right, Superintendent Schneckloff.
Well, thank you for that clarification. No offense taken, by the way. I think the comments that you heard about our goals are a good reminder for us that we are not under an accreditation issue that we should be facing to soar. And there are some things that we know that we have to do that should be business as usual, and we're working to implement those things that are down on here. And where we came from was a place of do the things you're not doing and talk about it all the time. When we know the people over here are working their tails off to make sure that our kids have a system. And so I think it's very valuable to incorporate those flying goals, those soaring goals in each one of these. And it's a good reminder, and it was a very good feedback, and that's why we discuss things and we act on them. So the second thing, obviously the athletic recognition just is unbelievable. Coaches of the Year, state champions, first team all district, all that stuff. But there's one person on there that meant a lot to me, and that was Coach Flynn. He was my football coach. He helped me fill out my college acceptance paperwork, walked me through that, made me volunteer to read in classrooms, and before you know it, I declared my major to be a teacher. And I'm not sure I'd be sitting here if it weren't for a coach. And to see him on the Ring of Honor means a lot to me.
Thank you, Superintendent. Again, I'll echo what all my board members said. And student board members, we greatly appreciate your input, so don't ever feel like you can't say something. As long as it's on the agenda, it has to be on the agenda. But we greatly appreciate that input because you all are giving us the feedback from your buildings and things like that. Again, I thought it was awesome, them talking about, we always say if you build it, they will come. Proof's in the pudding right there. So, and to recognize all of our student athletes and all the things that we have going on in this district is phenomenal. We have a lot of great kids in our buildings, and again, just awesome the things that we have going on and the things that we're putting in place for these kids for the future. With that, Director Potts, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and seconded. I'm assuming there's no discussion on this, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.